This is CBC Here and Now.
You can always think, oh, if I watch the road super carefully, if I'm extremely aware of my surroundings, I'll be able to avoid the accident. But I think the video really shows, and my experience tells me that it's just impossible.
So what can you do to stay safe?
This driver shares his major takeaway after a sudden crash with a moose.
Some cooler air funneling in across the province, that's leading to some snow squall potential.
The Newfoundland Growlers will not be playing in the upcoming season of the ECHL. I'm Jeremy, and I'll have that story coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We begin tonight with a retirement home in lockdown. A retirement home on the Burin Peninsula will remain in strict quarantine for 2 weeks after one of its residents tested positive for COVID-19. At today's medical briefing, we learned about 2 new cases in the province and got answers about that unknown case from yesterday. Here and Now's Mark Quinn took part in the briefing by phone. So Mark, what can you tell us about the retirement home?
That's right, Carolyn. So late this afternoon, CBC received a notice, an Eastern Health notice, which says that one resident of the Blue Crest cottages has tested positive for COVID-19. That's a retirement home in Grand Bank. That person had contact with another person who had previously tested positive for COVID-19. As a result, strict precautions, of course, have been put in place at the home. And as you said, there were 2 cases announced today by Dr. Janice Fitzgerald. The first is a woman over the age of 70 at the Eastern region. She's a close contact of a woman in her 50s who was reported positive yesterday. And the second new case is a man in his 40s in the Eastern region as well, who recently returned from Alberta. And he lives in the same household as the woman in her 50s who reported positive yesterday. So those 3 cases, the 2 announced today and 1 from yesterday, are all linked now. We also heard from Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, who said that there have been increasing concerns about bars and restaurants not ensuring that physical distancing is happening, and here's what she said.
It has come to my attention that we are seeing an increase in a number of concerns in bars, restaurants, and other public indoor spaces in not providing enough space for customers to maintain proper physical distancing. Owners and operators of these establishments are reminded that the holiday season is not the time to relax public health guidelines. These measures are in place for the health and safety of both staff and patrons and must be strictly adhered to. These concerns are being followed up by environmental health officers and liquor enforcement officers and are taken very seriously. And should these complaints continue, we may have to consider amendments to our existing special measures orders to strengthen them accordingly.
Okay, so Mark, what about those new cases announced in Nova Scotia yesterday? Any insight into whether that affects us or the Atlantic bubble?
That's right. Those cases are concerning because the Chief Medical Officer of Health in Nova Scotia said that there are 7 cases in that province where they can't link those cases to travel. So the health minister there, the Chief Medical Officer of Health there, Dr. Strang, said they have to assume those cases are local transmission. Now, we don't have any cases like that in Newfoundland and Labrador. We identified the source for all the cases we've seen here in Newfoundland and Labrador. But Dr. Janice Fitzgerald did say if any Newfoundlanders or Labradorians are going to Nova Scotia, they should be extra precautious because of this development.
We've asked that people be careful when they're in Nova Scotia and to limit travel to essential travel, and I think we're all sort of recommending that now at this point, just with everything that's happening across the country. But at the moment, we're not considering changing the Atlantic bubble.
So Dr. Fitzgerald did say that public health officials here will monitor what's happening in Nova Scotia very closely, and of course they'll keep monitoring everything that's happening here in this province. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Hopefully you got out and enjoyed the sunshine today. Certainly here in St. John's, reached a high near 6 degrees at the airport. Downtown was seeing a high near 7 degrees this afternoon with that sunshine. It felt really lovely with that warm sunshine. 2 degrees in Badger today, 1 in Corner Brook, and then we've got those cooler temperatures up through Labrador. This cold air, we've got that low off to the north, and then we've got cold air funneling in. That's leading to some onshore flurries along the west coast. That ridge of high high pressure is out behind us, and that is going to lead to the potential for some snow squalls as we head through the overnight tonight and into the first half of tomorrow as well. There's a look at that, and I'll have all those details and your full forecast coming out.
Thanks, Ashley. In other news, a man accused of sexually assaulting a resident of a senior's home made his first appearance in court this morning. Here now's Ryan Cook was in Harbour Grace, and he brings us this report.
Christopher Power's courtroom debut was brief this morning. Like most first appearances, he was in and out in a matter of minutes with a new date to come back. Lawyers on the case are awaiting the results of Power's criminal record check. As first reported by the Telegram, that record check will show 3 convictions for sexual assault stemming from 1998. Despite that, Power worked here at the Bay Roberts Retirement Center. Aside from allegedly assaulting a resident, Power is charged with calling himself a licensed practical nurse, or LPN, when he wasn't registered as an LPN. He's also charged with forging documents and/or books. We caught up with Power this morning after his court appearance. Mr. Power, anything you'd like to say?
Not at this time.
A lot of questions still remain after this morning's brief court appearance, like what exactly happened here and how Power could be hired with 3 prior sexual assault convictions. What we do know is he'll be back in court on January 13th in Harbour Grace. Ryan Cook, CBC News, Bay Roberts.
RCMP say they don't believe a sudden death in Shearstown over the weekend was criminal. A 49-year-old man died at a home in the community near Bay Roberts. The Major Crime Unit, Forensics, and the Chief Medical Examiner's Officer investigated the matter. While they say they don't believe the man's death to be criminal, police have not yet specified how the man died.
Well, Nalcor is searching for a new president and CEO. An ad for the job has been posted on the province's Independent Appointments Commission website. So what does it take to become the next head of Nalcor? According to the ad, 15 years experience in a utility or the energy sector, 10 years in senior leadership, and a degree in engineering or business. The person will take over for Stan Marshall, who was appointed in 2016. Now, according to his executive agreement with Nalcor, his base salary is more than $680,000 a year, including bonuses. Marshall was the president and CEO of Fortis before that. This is the first time Nalcor has publicly posted the position. Well, the province announced a new way for some immigrants to stay and work in this province. A new program gives people with in-demand skills a pathway to permanent residency. So who is eligible? New master's and PhD graduates from Memorial University or highly skilled people in a specialized field who have a year of experience. Previously, a graduate needed a job offer to stay and become a resident. The new program begins in January and targets those in technology, healthcare, agriculture, and aquaculture. The province says they hope to create a pool of highly specialized workers because there aren't enough to meet the current local demand.
This is important because it not only builds on what we need to do, creating a pool of expertise in Newfoundland and Labrador in those core areas that show growth, that can really advance the economy, but it also creates a competitive advantage for Memorial University of Newfoundland in a global, competitive world of attracting the best and brightest minds.
Well, Beaver Brook Antimony Mine in Glenwood, just outside of Gander, is shutting down and laying off the majority of its workforce. A release from the company doesn't say just how many people are out of work, but when the mine was reopening in 2019, CBC News was told it would create 100 jobs in the area. Beaver Brook first shut down in March because of COVID-19, but started back up on a smaller scale in July. The company suspended operations yesterday, blaming the financial hit of the pandemic and the threat of a second wave. It says more job cuts are coming, but a small team of personnel will be kept on. It plans to keep monitoring the situation to evaluate whether or not the mine can reopen. Antimony, the mineral mined at Beaver Brook, is used to make batteries, bullets, glass, pottery, and cosmetics.
The Newfoundland Growlers are sitting out the upcoming ECHL season. Due to COVID-19, the league is suspending play for the Northeast Division. And this news just hours after the City of St. John's announced job cuts, including 5 full-time positions at Mile 1. Here now's Jeremy Eaton has the details.
Power Woods a shot, Power score! It's a sound Newfoundland Growler fans won't be hearing for a while. Today, the team announced it would be opting out of the upcoming season.
It's really tough for the players, it's tough for our fans, Growler Nation, it's tough for our employees. We're all fans at the end of the day and we want to see you go ahead.
6 teams play in the Northeast Division: Adirondack, Brampton, Maine, Reading, and Worcester. That means all the players under contract with the Growlers are now free to sign somewhere else for the year.
The players who aren't Newfoundlanders playing here, it's a second home for them now. They love it here.
Today's news also means no anchor tenant at Mile 1 Centre in St. John's. As City Council prepares for a tough budget, it announced today that it's cutting the equivalent of 16 full-time positions. 10 of those are vacant and won't be refilled. Layoff notices went out to 8 others. And Mile 1 was hit hard. St. John's Sports and Entertainment will be slashing 5 full-time positions and laying off 2 more full-time workers. McDonald, who has been very vocal about buying the arena, calls the job losses tough news, but says that further cements a reason for the city to sell the stadium to him.
There's a big subsidy at the arena. The city is now in tough in terms of trying to balance its budget on a go-forward basis. And of course, our proposal is there will be no more subsidy. In addition to no more subsidy, there will be more jobs at the arena. So our view is we're not surprised to see the economic realities of the day hit, and hopefully people view us as a solution.
While McDonald works on taking over this building, there is another thing the team will have to deal with in 2021. Its affiliation agreement with the Toronto Maple Leafs comes to an end in May.
The relationship has been wonderful. We couldn't ask for a better partner. And so now we're kind of taking a pause to see what happens next. We're, of course, waiting for the city, who's reviewing what's going to happen with Mile 1. And, of course, depending on the outcome of that, then ourselves and the Leafs will move forward from there.
While there are many questions about the upcoming season, there's a very big one at the forefront of many people's minds. See, the Newfoundland Growlers are defending Kelly Cup champions, but they're not playing in the upcoming season. So what will the other teams play for? And what happens when the Growlers return to the ice? That's a big question fans here are going to want to know the answer to. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
Jeremy looking tall there. Staying in St. John's, we now know what is being done to appease the tens of thousands of people who normally head downtown for the annual Santa Claus parade. As CSAIR reports, organizers are canceling the actual parade because of COVID-19, but they are not canceling Santa.
This familiar downtown scene won't be happening this year. Public health guidelines prevent a traditional St. John's parade due to COVID-19. The organizers, downtown St. John's, don't want to cancel an appearance by Santa altogether, so they're putting his float inside Mile 1 for 2 days on the last weekend in November. Starting on Friday, people can book a time to go to the arena to get a glimpse. Officials believe they can move 300 people through every 20 minutes.
It also allows us for excellent numbers and crowd control at any one given time. So we know how many people are coming. We won't have rushes of people all at once. It allows us to know how many people are in the building because you'll enter the front door and you'll exit through somewhere around what I'll call the Zamboni entrance. One-way traffic through to see Santa and his friends.
Gulliver says emergency officials raised concerns about crowd control, and that's one of the reasons they ditched the notion of driving by stationary floats.
They were really, really concerned that we would create a chase the ace factor that happened in Goulds, a few years back, where you have a lot of people going to one area, one way in, one way out. And even when we looked at different areas of the city, it was the exact same problems, be it a highway in the middle of the city or a parking lot in the East End, it still created the same congestion issues.
Gulliver also says their volunteers were leery over potential virus exposure, but staff at Mile 1 are COVID trained to manage crowds. There's no cost for admission, but people are asked to bring food or donation for the Community Food Sharing Association. Gulliver says parking Santa's float inside Mile 1 is what they consider the best they could do for the kids.
You'll be able to, of course, walk slowly by, and we'll ask people to, take a quick pause with your selfie, and Santa will be able to wave, and then you kind of have to keep moving. It's a keep moving sort of event.
Gulliver is very quick to point out that this master plan at Mile 1 could go out the window in the blink of an eye. After all, she says, we are living in a COVID-19 world, and if that situation changes, this could be canceled. CSAIR, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, right now, this is just a brand new bus sitting in a parking lot, but soon, this right here will be a mode of transportation for seniors in the community of Stephenville.
I think it's a marvelous idea, something a long time coming.
It's going to be able to handle people in wheelchairs, up to 4 people, and then 8 other additional seats.
I'll tell you all about this new transit system.
Cool, crisp day on tap for tomorrow. We are going to see a little bit of a warm up over the next few days, but I'll have all those details in your full forecast coming up.
Stedman Brophy of Daniels Harbour. He's a flying fisherman and so much more. The next of our archival specials, Sunday at noon and Monday at 7.
Take a look at this video shared with me on Twitter today. This was on the Buckins Highway. I guess Santa's crew is getting ready a little early, isn't it?
Yeah, getting in training.
Yeah, out for a jog, getting some exercise in.
Before they take that sled. What a great piece of video that is.
So lovely.
The 2 calves there? Nice.
Yeah, looks that way.
Yeah. And I just learned
yep.
that male and female caribou grow antlers, and I also did not know that caribou and reindeer were the same thing. Caribou are wild and reindeer are domesticated.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
So there you go. What a great shot. Thank you so much to Michelle Hillier or Fewer for sharing that with us. It was a great video.
Yeah, great video.
Love getting those videos. Well, did you get outside at all, enjoy today?
Yeah, a little bit. The sunshine was great and it was a gorgeous day.
Yeah, no wind.
Yeah.
That's the key, isn't it?
Really.
Every time here anyway. For sure. Let's take a look at the daytime highs today, 6 degrees, but it felt much warmer in that sunshine and very little wind, and a number of areas seeing those temperatures in the single digits as you head towards coastal west coast anyway, and then -7 was the afternoon high in Labrador. Your temperatures have dropped a few degrees now, sitting at 1 in St. John's. It's going to be a chilly night tonight. We do have some colder air funneling through down, and we're already seeing some flurries along the west coast. See that cloud cover moving in? That's thanks to an area of low pressure that's going to skirt way south of us. But this ridge of high pressure is funneling all that colder air in, and that is leading to a snow squall setup on the west coast. Pretty good snow squall setup. It looks like overnight tonight is when we'll see that the squalls develop, and they'll continue through at least most of the early morning hours. In some cases, we could see upwards of 5 to 10 centimeters of snow with some of these squalls as well into the overnight and into the first half of tomorrow. As far as winds go, not too bad. Northwesterlies 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. They will be on the increase as we head towards the early morning hours, and then winds will be generally light in the east, looking at about 10 to 15 kilometers per hour. -2 will be the overnight low in St. John, so a cool night, generally looking at partly cloudy skies. That's the story through central. Some of these flurries may make their way towards Grand Falls, Windsor, or the interior. -8 overnight tonight, and then some cooler temperatures up through Labrador as well. Lab City -12. Winds quite brisk, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, a little bit stronger up towards Nain. -6 will be your overnight low as well. So here's a look at the future tracker. Not a whole lot happening tomorrow. Like I said, that ridge of high pressure in place, but because of those snow squalls, they will continue on the west coast. Some scattered flurries possible right across the province, or right across the Avalon, rather, the island tomorrow, and then it's looking like a nice day up through Labrador. Just a chance of a few flurries, but overall those winds will ramp up. We'll certainly see gusts anywhere from about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Here's a look at the amount of snow possible. This is again in some of these squalls. They'll be dependent. You go in and out of them more than likely on the west coast, but could see upwards of 15 centimeters in some cases, and a good bet's about 5 to 10 by the time that's all said and done on Friday morning. So here's a look at the temperatures tomorrow. Chilly into the minus single digits, and those winds again brisk, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. So there will be a wind chill tomorrow afternoon. -2 in Gander, -1 in Grand Falls, Windsor, with some of those flurries making their way through. And then anywhere from 0 to as much as -3 in Gross Mourne for tomorrow afternoon. And again, with those onshore winds, brisk at times as well. -4 for St. Anthony. Same thing for Cartwright. Marys Harbor, you're looking at some sunshine and -4. And then temperatures into the minus double digits for Lab City tomorrow. Again, winds will be brisk in the morning, and then they should ease through the day tomorrow. And then -6 will be the afternoon high in Nain. Here's a look at those wind chills I was talking about. So this puts us through to tomorrow afternoon. Wind chills feeling more like the minus teens in some cases tomorrow. -12 in Badger by supper time, -8 in St. John's, and then those wind chills feeling closer to -20 for Lab City. So if you do have plans tomorrow afternoon, make sure you bundle up, because it will feel cold. As we head into Friday, the next system, or at least the next trough, will move through. This will bring the potential for some showers and flurries. It's looking like we'll see a bump in temperature, so everything should change over to rain into the afternoon, except into the higher elevations, where we'll see more likely a rain-snow mix for the island, and then the potential for some flurries up through Labrador. That will move through. Another system will move through again on Saturday. Another push of some milder air, at least above zero air, moving through on Saturday. So things are going to stay a little bit unsettled as well, with higher elevations seeing that potential for some flurries. Here's where our temperatures will be sitting, 3 to 6 degrees on Friday, and then for Labrador into the minus single digits. So you're going to see a bump in temperatures, -2 for Lab City, but it'll still be below 0. And then some sunshine for Happy Valley, Goose Bay is the story. As we head into Saturday, temperatures for the Northern Peninsula cooler. You're going to hover into that 1 or 2 degree range, so mix of either you'll either see snow or some showers through the day. Otherwise, we're looking at the snow changing over to showers as the temperatures bump back up again. 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees possible for your Saturday. And then again, some cooler air continuing up through Labrador, Lab City, -7. Nain, some sunshine, and -3. After we see those bump in temperatures, it does look like we're going to drop back down, hovering into the 0 degree range as we head into Sunday with the potential for some flurries. And then Monday looks nice at this point, 4 degrees. And we could even see these temperatures climb as we head into Tuesday. Certainly going to keep an eye on that one. For central Newfoundland, you're looking at about 7 degrees for Saturday and then dropping back well below 0 for Sunday. Certainly in the overnight, -7 it's looking like, so mid-minus single digits. Back up to 5 degrees on Monday, but a little bit unsettled. Same thing for western Newfoundland. By then, we're looking at 7 degrees, and then it does look like some cooler air will move in as well. So certainly going to keep an eye on that one. For eastern Labrador, you're looking at minus single digits right across the board. Overnight lows around -13 by Saturday, and then back into that by Monday. And then for western Labrador, sunshine and a few flurries possible for the weekend. And then by Monday, it looks like we'll see some light snow and -6. I wanted to share this beautiful shot. Dale shared this one with us. Thank you so much. This is Powderhouse Cove. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. If you have any weather photos, share them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
With no time to react, bang, one driver has a warning and some wisdom after smashing into a moose on the Burin Peninsula Highway.
Hey, it's Aoife.
Farai. And Columbus.
And we're three really good friends who really love to eat.
Join us as we put our taste buds to the test and discover the amazing food around St. John's. We ordered the same dish at 3 places and then we vote for a favorite.
Let's get stuffed!
Well, the pulse of a St. John's man is still getting back to normal after a heart-stopping accident on the Burin Highway. Cam Jamieson was driving in his SUV when a moose appeared out of nowhere right in front of him, and his startling dash cam video is getting shared all over the place. Cam joins us now from his rental car in Fortune. So Cam, set this up for us. Where were you driving when this happened?
So I was headed north from Grand Bank up to Marystown, maybe 10 kilometers north of Marystown. I was just listening to a podcast as I was headed back to my apartment. And it felt like a moose literally materialized in front of me. It was absolutely shocking how quickly it happened, and I was only barely able to touch the brakes before I made an impact with the moose.
So what were those moments just before impact like? We often hear that time slows down. I don't know if that's true or not. What were those moments like where you realized this is going to happen?
For me, it was almost disbelief at first. Like I said, it happened so fast. It was right in the middle of the road. I didn't see it actually move across the road. It was just like, what is this? It even took a second for me to realize that there was a moose there, and it just happened so fast that there's no way I could have reacted. Even saying a second is too long. And the next thing I remember after that is smelling the gunpowder from the airbags deploying, and then looking around and realizing what had happened, and then sort of processed that, hey, there was a moose, my airbags went off, I hit a moose, and it just seemed like a crazy thing that happened. And after that, the next thing was the person who was driving opposite me pulled up and asked if I was okay. And that's when I kind of looked down at myself and was like, wow, I feel this, I could see the little airbag below on my shin. So I was feeling there, and I realized that, yeah, maybe I actually was okay. Because at first I expected that I was going to be injured at least.
Yeah, I'm looking at your face. I don't see any scratches. You're back at work. Did you suffer any kind of injury at all?
I did get a small bruise on my shin from the airbag. Other than that, nothing.
Think about the damage to your vehicle. It's amazing to be talking to you. You look as though nothing happened to you. What'd you make of what's happened to your car?
Really, I just feel grateful that Toyota built a vehicle like that can sustain an accident and allow someone to walk away. It's really amazing what modern cars can do. The level of protection that you get is incredible.
Yeah, I was just in a car accident. I hit a moose.
Anybody injured?
So what was it like actually, having the call with the dispatcher sort of explaining what had happened?
It took me a long time to realize what was going on. They asked me where I was, what happened, and I had to look around and really think about it before I could answer them because it all just happened so quickly. I got the call on my emergency system in the vehicle about maybe 10 seconds after it happened.
You make a joke on your Facebook page how you screamed like a little girl, which I think is understandable given what happened to you. But you also point out that you wanted to post the video that you caught for a reason. You want to share that, and we'll wind the interview down. Why did you want to post that video?
To me, the experience really proved to me how quickly these things happen. You can always think, oh, if I watch the road super carefully, if I'm extremely aware of my surroundings, I'll be able to avoid the accident. But I think the video really shows, and my experience tells me that it's just impossible. The only way to do that is to drive slower at night times, which is what I plan to do in the future. I wasn't speeding, but going forwards when I'm making that drive at nighttime, I plan to drive below the speed limit. So I wanted people to realize that they're likely not going to be able to avoid the accident, even if we're doing the speed limit. And I also wanted people to see it to be able to be more understanding and patient if they do notice people that are driving 70 or 80 kilometers an hour at night on the highway, and understand that maybe they did have an experience that made them want to do that.
All right, well, certainly a good lesson. And Cam, we've definitely had far too many stories on our program where people who did not fare as well as you did. So good to talk to you. Thanks for your time, and good luck driving at night.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, quite the story.
Yeah, hard to watch.
All right. Well, to some very sad news for Here Now viewers, radio listeners, and many people in the local sports scene. Carl Lake has died at the age of 68. Now, I first got to know Carl on the St. John's Morning Show, as you know, Carolyn, and many of you got to know him right here on Here and Now. So we offer our condolences to his wife, Debbie, his sons and daughters and grandchildren. Carl or Lakey, as he was known to friends. He loved all local sports. He wrote about them, broke stories that the rest of us missed on his website, the sports page NL. He bragged about the fact he knew the Brier was given to St. John's before the city actually knew. Beat all of us on that. And even more than his beloved Red Sox and Boston Bruins, he absolutely loved the local baseball scene, and he volunteered his time, as you found out, for more than half a century.
Yeah, Carl got behind the plate as an umpire for the first time back in 1967. And in September of this year, just 2 months ago, I met the local sports legend at what he called his summer home, which of course is St. Pat's Ball Field in St. John's. And it was a very special day. After 53 years, it would be Carl's last time umpiring a game.
The St. Pat's Ballpark here is basically my summer home since 1958. I came down here as a kid about that height, came down to watch a baseball game, and I haven't left since. I mean, it's my home in the summer. I'd leave and come, as a matter of fact, I live in Circular Road. I'd come down through a garden up here and come down to the ballpark. We come down to play ball here in the morning and then come down and watch baseball in the nighttime. This is my home. I'm most relaxed at St. Pat's, whether I'm umpiring, whether I'm just down watching the game. This is my home.
What is it about this place that does that to you?
It's the mystique of being here, the people you've met, the people you've known over the years. You can hear the ghosts of people down here when they play. The respect that's here from people and the friendships I've made over the years, man, they're unbelievable. And I don't think I could have made them anywhere else but down here at St. Pat's.
Well, I don't think there are too many people in town who could say that they've been coming down here for 50-odd years.
53 years umpiring baseball. I've been here since 58 as a kid. I used to sell hot dogs in the canteen there and go around and sell chips in the stands, right? But it's home, it's heaven. It's almost like heaven. I was intended to be here. I don't know why, but I'm intended to be at St. Pat's.
And today is a bit of a special day for you. Can you talk about what's going to be happening later?
Unfortunately, as I said, and I won't go into details, but my health reasons, I can't umpire baseball because I'm afraid if I could break a bone, I could be in serious problems. But this will probably be, I'm hoping it won't, but I know it will be, my last game as a baseball umpire. I'm going to do first base tonight. I want to do one more to make sure I got my 53rd year in umpiring baseball. And it means a lot to me, it means a lot to my family, and to my umpire friends.
You've devoted a lot of your life to sports in this province.
Oh, a fair bit, yeah. I think I've covered everything from Pee-wee hockey to the Nationals. The same with baseball. I've done from Pee-wee baseball to the Nationals. I've been involved in sports. That's my life. That's what we grew up with as kids. We grew up in sports, and then it fell into jobs. You know, at first it was with the Daily News, then CJO, and then I went to CBC, and then I got in with VOCM, and I came back in the media and followed. Now I got my own sports page. So it's just something that is love of sports, trying to promote the local people. You can get national anywhere, but local has all of a sudden been shoved aside.
We're in an unprecedented time in sports locally, where things have been put on hold. There's all kinds of new challenges that have never been faced before. What do you think when you look at the state of local sports right now in these COVID times?
In the COVID times, it's sad, because I can tell you from, like, we're going to umpire tonight. We'll have one guy stand behind the pitcher's mound, and I'll stand here at first base. You're not behind home plate, so there's things you can't see. It's a different world, a different situation, and they've done everything they can to protect the people here, and God love them, they're doing that. The kids are enjoying the game, but they're keeping their distance, which is great, but they're still enjoying their friends around the sport of baseball, soccer. Something had to be done, but at least, look at it this way, Carol, they're playing sports this summer. Regardless of COVID or not, they came out and said, we're playing sports, and the hell with that virus. Great.
It kind of seems like sports is in your DNA, even just the way that you're talking, the way you present yourself. See, I grew up very much a sports. You're a sportsman. Yeah,
I grew up in a neighborhood. We played. When we were home from school, we played street hockey. We came down here in the summertime. We played soccer over there when that was a soccer pitch. But that's all we ever did in the summer and the winter. We played sports. We developed that relationship, and we had to get out. But of course, your parents said get out of the house anyway. So we got out of the house, and you played sports. And people you've met over the years. I mean, I bet you I could fill this field with people I've met over the years for sports, just in Newfoundland alone. That's not counting the mainland people.
This evening is probably going to be an emotional time for you. How do you think you're going to be feeling tonight?
I'd say at the start I'll be anxious to get at it. But I think, and excuse me if I break down, but I think at the end of it, I'll say, you know, I'm sorry to leave here. I can't do this anymore. I'm not allowed to do it. But you know something, Carolyn? I've had a great run of baseball as an umpire, and I've enjoyed it immensely, but I will come down to the ballpark. But I'd love to be out here every night, and if things change around, who knows, but I can't see it right now.
Well, Carl Lake, good luck this evening.
Well, thank you.
I really appreciate you taking the time to share some memories.
Anytime, either you want a memory, I'll give you one.
Well, more good news on the vaccine front. Today, the final results of the Pfizer drug trial were released. Now, that company's vaccine has an even higher success rate than first believed.
This is looking like one of the vaccines that is going to come to the market very soon.
Pfizer now says its vaccine is 95% effective against COVID-19, and that's up from the 90% that was reported last week. Pfizer and its partner BioNTech say their phase 3 study also proves that the vaccine is safe and effective in all age groups. They're expecting to make up to 50 million doses this year and more than 1 billion doses next year. Canada has already bought 20 million doses. The vaccine could be approved for use here as early as January. To the north now, where Nunavut is entering a widespread coronavirus lockdown. The territory is reporting 70 cases of COVID-19. Now, up until recently, the territory had been largely untouched by the pandemic, but that changed quickly. The new restrictions will be in place for at least 2 weeks in an attempt to stop the spread.
With more and more Canadians being told to stay home, some small businesses are finding themselves in a strange position. hoping to be shut down. Peter Armstrong explains.
It's a notoriously awful time to try to run a bar. After a fairly busy summer on Kristen McNeil's patio, things are quiet now. There were just 5 customers all day yesterday.
It's tough to sleep at night. You could think about it every second of the day.
Round the Horn closed down entirely in March. It reopened when the government allowed and put in safety precautions. Now, with caseloads climbing again and without any rent subsidy in place, McNeil feels sort of stuck in limbo.
If we get shut down now, hard shutdown, lockdown, then I don't have to keep buying product that I have to throw away. My staff can get on full EI and take care of themselves.
Some businesses have found a way to thrive through the pandemic. Others are struggling to find a business model to survive. Governments are asking, even pleading, with consumers to stay home, but non-essential businesses are still allowed to open.
If the numbers continue to spike, as I said before, I won't hesitate in a heartbeat to lock things down.
But as the caseload soars, Ontario's premier has let that limbo linger, forcing businesses to make impossible decisions.
He's telling people to not come in if it's not essential.
This tattoo parlor owner says businesses just want to stay safe. He wishes the government would do what seems obvious to everyone else.
If you really care about small businesses, Doug, shut us down. Give us subsidies. Keep us so that we can come back stronger after this is over and done with.
It's businesses like this that make up the fabric of towns and neighborhoods across the country. Their survival is key, not just to the economy, but to the communities they serve. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, from businesses wanting to shut down to those working from home, in big cities like Toronto, there are a lot of empty office spaces thanks to COVID, and that's raised questions about the future of many urban centers. Natalie Collada explains.
It's lunchtime at one of the busiest intersections in Toronto, but here at Bay and Bloor, people aren't running from meeting to meeting anymore. They're just trying to get outside.
To work at home is it's not easy.
People are more friendly now because I think they understand that human connection is important.
A quick drive down Bay Street and it's clear. The lights are on, but not many people are in. Cue the now almost cliche empty office social media post.
I do feel there's a strong push to want to vacate some of the real estate or offload some of the real estate that organizations have been required to have previous to now, and I do wonder what that will look like and what that will mean for our urban centers.
Because of the pandemic, there are fewer people in office buildings in downtown Toronto. In fact, one commercial real estate company estimates less than 10% of offices in the financial district are being used right now.
What we're pivoting to and imagining is a total workplace ecosystem. So imagine this, an employee has the license, if you will, the flexibility to work from a variety of locations. It could be one day a week in a work from home environment. Another day could be locally in the neighborhood in a leased facility to get a project team together. It could be in a hub and spoke type model where there's a suburban or periphery office where they could touch down, and then occasionally coming into the downtown core.
The city is also looking to reduce its offices that either it owns or leases from 55 to 15. It means a saving of over $1 billion over the next 25 years.
It's surrounding around staff and people first. And looking at that well-being and offering the flexibility and choice.
So what will our downtown look like after the pandemic ends? Will there be more green spaces? What will happen to all those offices? Well, that's something we'll just have to wait to find out. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, people in South Australia have been rushing to stock up on supplies. The Australian state is making new moves to control COVID-19. A 6-day lockdown was put into effect at midnight. Officials say the state needs a so-called circuit breaker to avoid more new infections.
The deadly Ebola outbreak on the west side of the Democratic Republic of Congo is over. The outbreak started in June, just as the country was putting an end to an Ebola epidemic in the east side of the country that left 2,200 people dead. The western contagion killed 55 people. There have been 11 Ebola outbreaks in the Congo since the virus was discovered there in 1976. Congo's equatorial forests are a natural reservoir for the virus that leads to severe and often fatal hemorrhaging fever in humans and other mammals. Boeing's 737 MAX passenger plane has been cleared to fly again by American authorities. Today, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration recertified the aircraft after a 20-month grounding. The government agency says Boeing has fixed its computer problems. The planes were grounded after 2 crashes killed 346 people, including 18 Canadians. Both disasters were blamed on software that pushed the aircraft's nose downward in flight. Canada is not lifting the plane's flight restrictions, at least not yet. It could be months before Air Canada and WestJet put their 737 MAX planes back in the air.
Hey, I'm Ramraj Shavendran, the co-host of the St. John's Morning Show. I want to let you know about a series we've been working on here at CBC NL. It's called NL in Color. I got a chance to sit down with folks that live right here in St. John's that don't always look and sound like the people around them.
I'd be excited eating like mac and cheese and fish and brews.
The need to belong is less important to me.
People are gonna think that brown people don't know what a crosswalk is. They think you come from, I don't know where.
We've already given them so much, how can they ask for more? I was absolutely floored.
You can tune in right here on Here and Now or on CBC Radio 1 or even online, cbc.ca/NL.
It was 10 years ago today. A very historic deal was signed, to say the least, in St. John's to develop the Lower Churchill. Now, back then, Muskrat Falls was billed as a $6.2 billion project. It was expected to provide first power by 2016. Needless to say, neither projection panned out.
No, the mega project still isn't up and running, and that price tag ballooned more than double to $13.1 billion. Back in November 2010, then Premier Danny Williams sat down with Here and Now's Debbie Cooper. He said it was an emotional day, and he was proud to have helped get the project off the ground. Here's part of their conversation.
I got to tell you, when I walked in the room was full and there was a lot of smiling faces, and my mother was in the front row. And the Innu elders were coming in with us, and they went over and approached her and talked to her. So it was that whole piece coming together. And it was also something, like every Newfoundlander and Labradorian, it was just a very important issue for me. And it kind of all came together, and I said, oh, this is not the time to lose it. So anyway, but it was, and it was a proud day for all of us.
On another matter, you're not exactly bosom buddies with former Premier Roger Grimes. I want you to react to something he said today. He said this deal is going to increase power rates in this province. Will it?
Well, first of all, Roger Grimes said this deal wasn't going to happen. That was last week. Secondly, I have to remind people that when Roger Grimes was doing his deal back in 2003, the Premier of Quebec said that this is a blessing from heaven for Quebec. So that will tell you where that deal that the Grimes government was going to do. Power rates for the next 5 years are going, before this project is completed, are going up anyway, because our power is tied to oil. It's the thermal generation that happens in Seal Cove. The main primary reason for doing this deal is to get us off oil and get us on renewable water that's running every day, so that we don't have to go to Algeria or Saudi Arabia and buy oil to fire up Holyrood. So on a go-forward basis, the rates for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians will be stable. They will always increase a bit because there's operating costs, but they will be stable, and the gap between where they would be on oil and where they are on water will be enormous, so there's great savings.
How risky is this venture financially?
I would take my own money and put it into it if I could. That's the best thing I can tell you. It's a great venture. I mean, it's an annuity. This is flowing forever. It's electricity. It's an essential commodity that people want. We're in a green world. I mean, the beauty of this project is it's a clean, green, renewable project. And to a lot of people, that means a lot in times of climate change and what's going on now. So, we are going to be a jurisdiction that has 98% clean electricity. That's unique.
This project is only one part of the Lower Churchill, the much smaller project. Does that matter?
No, this is actually a big project. We're saying it's smaller because it's only 1/4 of the total project. Muskrat Falls is actually the biggest generating project in Canada right now. The 4 generating stations in Romaine are all smaller. A project in Manitoba, which is slightly bigger, does not produce as much electricity. This is a big project. The next project, which will come behind it, when the capacity is there and when the access is there, we'll be able to roll that out. Ideally, I'd like to see some of that power come into the Maritimes and some of that power to go to Ontario, because Ontario has an insatiable need for good, clean power, and the prices are going up.
Premier, there's no question your desire was so evident to have a deal on Lower Churchill. You said today it was one of the reasons you got into politics. So is this your swan song?
No, well, you're not trying to get rid of me after doing a deal like this today. No, this is just so important to me. This was one of a whole group of things that I've set out to accomplish when I first got involved in politics. And this one today, I think, was probably a crowning achievement in the sense that it's probably the biggest one. It's probably the one that's rooted deep in the hearts and minds and guts of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, and I'm no different than any of them. So this was very, very important to me.
Premier Danny Williams, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Some quiet weather on tap through the day tomorrow. Going to be chilly as well, only reaching a high near -1 in St. John's. Mix of sun and cloud for the most part. Might see a few flurries here and there for most of us, except along the west coast where we are looking at the risk of some snow squalls tonight. That snow squall watch is in effect for now for Corner Brook and vicinity, all the way through down to Port aux Basques and then including Burgeo as we head into most of tomorrow afternoon. In fact, we'll take a look at how much snow is expected. Some areas areas in these squalls, which will be variable, could see anywhere from 5 to as much as 15 centimeters of snow. So certainly something to keep an eye on if you are planning on heading out tomorrow.
All right, for many people left housebound by the pandemic, this is a time for distraction and creativity. For a 62-year-old Egyptian radiologist, that means indulging in a hobby of constructing miniature landmarks in his hours away from work. The matchstick replicas are built by Ahmed Hassan. Constructing his small-scale Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris helped him overcome his sorrow after the structure was consumed by fire in 2019. He estimates it took nearly 28,000 matchsticks and 3 months to build. He has no plans to sell the pieces, but has donated some items. For now, they allow the radiologist to recreate a world outside that, for now, remains out of reach.
That is a lot of work.
Meticulous work.
Incredible.
Cutting off the match heads, each one?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Wow.
Radiologists in
Patience.
Egypt.
Impressive.
A lot of time.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.